We can. Hello, everyone. My name is Ruslan Zhetskov. I'm a principal consultant green economy for Technopolis Group. I'm very happy to welcome you to the European Resource Efficiency Knowledge Center webinar to take place today, 19th of March, between 12 and 2 o'clock Central European Time. I would like to ask everyone, if possible, to mute themselves, because we started hearing phone calls, and then whenever there is time to speak, or you want to ask a question, please unmute yourself. People are not muted, so we can hear everything. Please mute yourself. We have a very interesting agenda today. We have several countries presenting their experience in resource efficiency outreach program, support programs. We will start with the Czech Republic and Pavel Růžička. Then we have France, Eric Darlot from ADEME. We will have the Zero Waste Scotland program and the experience also of Estonia. The objective of the work of the webinar is, of course, to increase the knowledge on resource efficiency, support programs, the benefits of resource efficiency to the enterprises, the small and medium enterprises, provide you ideas on self-assessment tools, on support actions, etc. I would like to give the floor before we move to the speakers to Eva Maria Revia Penaranda from the European Commission to introduce the webinar as well. Eva?
Thank you very much, Ruslan. I am delighted to be here today. So the European Commission has been pushing very much for the development of the circular economy agenda across the European Union. As everybody here probably know, in 2015 we already adopted an action plan in order to support this transition to a circular economy. And only a few days ago, we reported on the complete execution of the action plan. There are 54 actions included in this action plan, and many of them have now been delivered or are being implemented. And one of them is, in fact, the European Resource Efficiency Knowledge Center. And why was it born, this center? Because all across the European Union, all member states, they face similar challenges. We know that resource efficiency is a competitiveness factor for our companies, but implementing measures is not that easy. Some member states have put in place agencies and resource efficiency providers that can help these companies, and they have experiences in certain domains. But we are not, all of us, experts on everything, and this is the reason why we are having this webinar today, to share all these experiences. On the side of the Commission, we are pressing for some general measures: product design, production process, consumption, from waste to resources, and innovation, investment, and other cross-cutting issues. And we have some actions on specific materials and sectors, such as plastics, food value chain, critical raw materials, construction and demolition, biomass and bio-based products, and fertilizers. So here we go. We have a very good agenda. I am delighted to pass now the floor to our wonderful speakers. I thank them very much for bringing their experience, the experience that they have with companies themselves on implementing these measures, and I'm very much looking forward to learning from them and to have a good discussion later. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Eva. Just a reminder to the participants, while you're listening to the speakers, please take note of the questions that you would like to ask in the end. You will have the opportunity after the speakers are done. But take notes and go ahead asking the questions later. Pavel, I would like to give you the floor. Pavel Ružička from Envirus.
Thank you, Ruslan. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to ask you if you see my screen first, and if it's so, I can start my presentation.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Let me also welcome you to this webinar on behalf of one of the members of EREK Consortium, which is company Envirus, but of course on behalf of the whole core team. My name is Pavel, and I will introduce you the European Resource Efficiency Knowledge Center and the resource efficiency support tools that the center offers to business support providers, to intermediaries, but to SMEs as well. So why resource efficiency is important and what EREK can offer to you? According to one of the recent Eurobarometer surveys, which focus on SMEs, resource efficiency and green market, as we can see, some 50% of companies experience decrease in production costs after introduction of resource efficiency measures. And at the same time, usually these savings are achieved by implementation of no-cost or low-cost measures. So some 55% of SMEs report that they invested less than 1% of their turnover to implement resource efficiency measures. If it's about 5% of turnover, it's up to 80% of companies. And usually the payback period is lower than 5 years. On the other hand, the Eurobarometer shows that SMEs are less active and less successful compared to larger companies, because they are planning less additional resource efficiency actions to be implemented in next years. They also report a smaller decrease in production costs. We can also see that almost 2/3 of SMEs face some difficulties when they implement resource efficiency measures, and they more often ask for support from external organizations because they lack their own resources. I don't mean only financial resources, but very often technical and personal resources as well. So in this sense, the European Resource Efficiency Knowledge Center is a response of the European Commission to the needs of companies, which are reflected in this Eurobarometer survey, which I just presented. And we built EREK as a hub of knowledge and tools in resource efficiency issue, and these tools can be found on the webpage resourceefficient.eu. You can find here a self-assessment tool for 11 priority sectors or industries. Also the database of measures, good practices and technologies. At this moment there is almost 500 entries in this database. Also collection of support programs, which are sorted by countries, and we cover both the European Union countries and also some non-EU countries. And last but not least, a database of support organizations which can help companies to implement resource efficiency. Well, let's start with the self-assessment tool. It's a visualized questionnaire or test that companies respond in order to know how efficient they are in terms of energy, materials, water and waste, and also how can they become even more efficient, what changes and what measures they can implement. So when you go to the website, so first you click on the test your performance to find these questionnaires, and you are asked to select the sector in which your company operates. So as you can see, there is a general questionnaire which is called Office. However, it's it's not suitable or it's not intended only for offices, but any enterprise can use it to assess, say, their administrative parts. So all companies have some offices, and they can use this questionnaire. And then we have 10 sectoral questionnaires. Those sectors were selected in order to cover both production companies but also service providers, and of course to address those sectors where resource efficiency and environmental improvement potential is expected to be high. So in order to go through the questionnaire, you need to create your account, or you log in when you already have one. And there is also a demo version of the self-assessment tool, and this one covers Office questionnaire. In this case, you don't need to log in. You can explore it without a password and username. So this is an example of one of the questionnaires. It's a questionnaire for food processing companies. So when you select the sector, you can answer the questions. These are represented by those red dots that you can see with question marks, and there are also red dots with an exclamation mark, and they here we provide you some recommendations. So these are not questions, but just single recommendations. When you answer the question, you can either go back to this overall questionnaire, or you can answer, of course, more questions, and then you can go to the report. Of course, we encourage everyone to answer as many questions as possible, because then it will give you more complete report finally. So another example is metal and plastic processing, and all the 11 sectors are visualized like this. So when you click on Go to Report button, then you will receive a personalized report based on your answers. You can find information on how to be more efficient in 5 areas. You can see materials, water, waste, management, and energy. And you can also find links to specific measures which are recommended to you, good practices and technologies, which are all listed in the database of resource efficiency solutions. So this enables to discover more about the concrete actions and explore real cases from your sector. So this is how this database of resource efficiency solutions look like. You can find here the typical measures, good practices and technologies. You are able to filter them by sector or industry, by resources, meaning energy, materials, etc., and also by investment which is required. So here we have all low, medium, and high investment measures. There is also possibility to filter based on tags or search by keyword. So let me provide you some examples. This is an example of how the measure is described, in particular the measure called refurbishment with energy efficient lighting. And as you can see, each measure is described to provide you information what and how can you implement, what resource is addressed, so in this case energy, why you should implement the measure, so what are the benefits, what you can expect from implementation of such a measure. And the benefits are expressed not also in the description, but also in quantitative terms. So you can get information about the average investment, about resource and financial savings, and also about the average payback period. Then you can explore explore good practices, and the description and information provided is quite similar to measures. Just, of course, the difference is that here we present real cases, so how the measure was already implemented in a concrete company and what were concrete results. And the third part of this database are technologies. So they are, I would say, complementary to the measure description. So you can explore really the concrete technologies, concrete equipment that you can install. So on previous slides we had example of this refurbishment with energy efficient lighting as the measure. Then I showed you the company that already has experience with this measure, and on this slide you can read about concrete type of this energy efficient lighting that can be used. All these databases, information and data wouldn't be possible without this and many other organizations which are members either of the core team or of the broad EREK network. At this moment we have 59 members from 21 European countries, and of course our aim is to cover all countries, all of them. So definitely those participants to the workshop who are not members of EREK network yet are invited to join us. So what EREK offers to the members? Our goal, general goal, is to help SMEs become more resource efficient, and in this sense we focus on building capacities of organizations that provide services directly to companies, either being the state agencies or NGOs or private consultancies. All these have access to all the information and databases of EREK which they can use. They have a possibility to integrate EREK tools into their own work, so into the service they offer. They can participate in workshops, and also they have a possibility to promote their services and success stories to EREK. Regarding SMEs as such, they can use EREK directly as well. It's not only for business support providers, but directly for SMEs too. In particular, the self-assessment tool can help them identify resource efficiency potential and improvements in the company. They can use the database of support programs and tools that exist in their countries, find their resource efficiency support providers, attend the workshops, and so on. And this, my last slide, I can say, it gives you a short overview of our next plans. Of course, we will continue in the network expansion and organize resource efficiency related events. There are some workshops planned for next month. The first one that will take place in Katowice in Poland, organized by our Polish colleagues, 26th of March. It's entitled Making Recycling of Packaging Waste a Profitable Business for SMEs. So it focuses on this issue of packaging waste and its recycling. In the mid-May in Bucharest, Romania, there will be the European Cluster Conference, and EREK event will be held as a side event to this conference. And also I would like to mention the Industrial Symbiosis workshops that will take place in Helsinki in the beginning of June. And definitely I have to invite you to the EREK International Conference on Resource Efficiency, which will be our final event taking place in Brussels 25th to 26th September this year. So I believe we will meet each other in person there. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to answer your questions when we have this question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, Pavel. Actually, you were quicker than expected. We have several minutes. If there is a quick question to Pavel now, please type it. You can type it in the chat box. We'll wait just some seconds. If not, just keep the questions and then ask them at the end. But just I wanted to say that basically you have to type the questions in the chat box in your right hand panel. Just giving you some seconds in case you want to ask Pavel immediately some question. Okay, if there is no question coming in, we can move to the next speaker, who is EREK from the French Agency for Environment and Energy Management. EREK, please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you. Can you see it?
Now we can. That's great.
Okay, so thank you. My presentation is about resource efficiency coaching for SMEs, something we've launched in 2017, which is called SMEs Winning on All Counts. But first I will present ADEME. So ADEME is the French National Agency for Environment and Energy Management. It's a public body, an operator of the French state, under the supervision of the Minister of Ecological and Solidarity Transition. ADEME's missions and means of action, in short, our missions are to develop knowledge, convince and mobilize, advising, assisting with implementation, meaning funding. We do not do regulatory control. And areas of action for us: energy, circular economy, climate change, global environment, and on a lesser extent, soil and air pollution and noise pollution. Our targets are large: local community, businesses, households. And to have some figures about our means, the budget for 2018 was 634 million euros, and for funding 458 million euros. And we have got a subdelegated budget as well, which is called Investment for the Future, mainly for innovation. The staff, roughly 900 people, half of them are on regional sites. We've got sites in each of the French regions, including overseas, and we've got 3 national sites, one in Valbonne in southeast, one in Paris, and one in Angers, which is a medium town in the northwest of France, where I work. Concerning businesses, the range of resources we offer them, mainly fundings for action ranging from PhD thesis, research and development, innovation, consulting, investment, little or big ones. The fundings are delivered mainly through calls for tenders on a national or regional level, but we've got also other resources like information, tools, training, networking, and so on. For concerning the businesses, we work with partnerships. We've got partners with professional organization, Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Craft, and French region technical centers, clusters on the regional level. To focus on SMEs, what's at stake for us, the main point is to manage to reach them, because they are a very important part of the French companies, but they are quite hard to reach. Mainly we can reach eco businesses because their markets are connected with our mission. We can reach large industry with high energy or material consumption, companies that are concerned with an environmental image, or innovative leaders concerned with environmental performance. But SMEs are quite hard to reach for us because most of the time they lack the time and staff to deal with environmental energy issues, and they lack the awareness that this issue really concerns them because their consumption, their individual consumptions are not that high. The regulatory control are not focused on them. They do not monitor energy or material flows, so they are not aware of the importance of them. And the clients, most of them are not asking for environment performance. So what can we do to try to reach these SMEs? We've been launching, as I said previously, in 2017, SMEs winning on all counts, which is a coaching. So this coaching is a consultant service ranging from 5 to 10 days, including a fast-track visit and a coaching which lasts 12 months. What is new about this coaching for us is the savings promise. So the goal of the coaching is really mainly economical, to save money thanks to resource efficiency. And the coaching is free if the savings promise is not met. So I will talk about that later. If the promise is met, there is a fixed price. The field of action is quite large: energy, materials, water and waste. But the action are really limited to cheap and simple action with a fast return on investment time. The method, we have been developing with partners for several years, so it has been tested within 100 companies. And to access to the coaching is very simple. You've got to register online on a dedicated website and sign a contract with Adam.
Eric, just one request from me. Can you enlarge your screen, please? We have a request from the participants. The visibility will be better. I think it's better. Thanks a lot, and sorry for interrupting you.
Sorry for that. So who is this coaching for? Mainly for companies who have large material and energy consumption. So processing industry and craft, food, retail, and catering. The staff must be under 250 on site, and the sites must be situated in France, including overseas. Who are the consultants, the experts? There are 200 of them. For the clients with a staff number under 20, the consultants are chambers of commerce, industry and craft, and those with a staff number above 20, the consultants are consulting companies who are hired by ADEME. All the experts have received a 2-day training, and all of them are using a dedicated toolbox that we have designed for it. So I said there is a fixed price and a savings promise. It depends on the staff number of the company, of the client. The saving promise range from 500 euros per year to 18,000 euros per year. And the fixed price is connected with this promise. It ranges from 250 to 9,000 euros. And the present setting system that we are using for the clients with a staff number above 20, it takes place when the consultant has done the visit, and it proposes an action plan to the client, a list of action, and for each of them there is a calculated projected savings. And the client chooses among these action, among this list, which action he or she is going to implement. And for each of them, the saving is sum up, and the total projected saving makes the decision for the payment. If the total is above the promise, the client will have to pay. If it's under the promise, it's free for the client. And in each case, the consultant will be paid by them, and the coaching will carry on. We've been building some tools for the consultants, collective tools and the toolbox, as I said before. The Web Resource Center has got a forum with question and answers, tutorials, technical help call on the phone, and a database. And the consultant each use a toolbox for each client which help them doing the coaching, calculating the saving and so on, and delivering the action plan to the client in a beautiful form. And there is also a monitoring sheet that we use that Adam collects and that is used to feed the action database. And the aim of that is to improve the action library that is in the toolbox with useful statistics. So what are the results after the launching? It's been 15 months since then. 1,300 companies have registered online, but only 400 of them are really participating now. So there is a confirmation rate of only 30%. So the lessons we've learned mainly on that point is that scaling up from 100 free coaching, what we've done in the past, to 400 paid coaching that we're doing now, takes a long time, more than 6 months that we have thought in the beginning, taking us more than a year. It takes marketing and communication skill and budget. It takes distribution network and sales team, and all of that we had underestimated in the beginning. What we had underestimated as well was the competitors we had on the regional level. There is already an offer for support for SMEs on resource efficiency, and the new coaching has to find its place on this market. What we've learned as well is that the pathway for the client is not so easy, because there is a step between the registration online, which is quite easy, and the contract, which is a bit more complicated. And what we haven't planned in the beginning was the dunning of the client. You can see that more, 1,000 of them didn't actually participate. So we got to call them back and help them go further and convince the boss maybe that the coaching can be interesting for them. It's a hard work for us. Concerning the coaching in progress, so I said 400 participating companies. What we have learned that it takes time as well. There is a big lag between the start and the step of the validation of the action plan, because they all have very busy agendas. Just setting a date for the first visit takes time. Data collection is very important. It's key for the implementation of the coaching. So it takes more than 3 months. Some clients don't have the data. Experts have to learn to do without or to do with a minimum. Some clients don't see the point of collecting so much data. I said it was material, energy, waste, water, and they understand in the end what's the use of the data when they see the action plan with the calculated savings. But in the beginning, it's a bit hard to explain. Some of the clients are reluctant to give data about material costs because they find this information confidential. So you've got to reassure them that the process is safe for them. And the validation of the action plan takes time as well, because for some of the action, there are little investment and the boss has to decide about it. To be more precise on the validated plans, more than 70 of them. The main figures for the clients with a staff on the above 20, only 55% of the clients don't reach the savings promise, so that the coaching is free for us, for the clients. It's a bit disappointing for them, but we are doing what we said we would do about that. The savings are very scattered, and they range from 0 to 400,000 euros per client. So they are very different. The savings can be approximately related to staff. So I'll let you read the formula. There is a fixed amount and a part that is connected to the staff. The energy accounts for 52% of the savings and is present in the majority of the validated plans, but the material accounts for only 28% of the savings and is present in only 14% of the plans, which is a bit disappointing for us. So the main lesson learned on this point is that material flow is key, and the expert and the clients are a bit reluctant to tackle this flow. The client treat the material cost as confidential, and the expert doesn't feel confident with challenging the client about his core process. And to tackle material flow, you've got to do that. And what we've learned as well is that the pricing affects a fixed price or free is simple but not very efficient. There is a threshold effect. Some of the clients are just not validated some actions to avoid paying, and there is little we can do about that. So I will go to that later. Maybe we could have a better pricing. Concerning the little companies, the one with staff under 20, the results are more encouraging. 78% of them for the premise is reached, and the average saving per client is more than 3,000 euros for each client, and the average staff is about 5, so that's a good saving. Most of the chambers of commerce won't charge the clients whatever the result is, so that's what was planned in the beginning. Most of them don't think that these little clients are ready to pay for that type of coaching. So the lesson we've learned, there is a real potential savings for the very small companies, and we've got to address that. The learning curve for the expert is quite steep. For in the beginning, it takes them about, for the first coaching, more than 10 days, which is much too long. For the more experienced one, it takes about 5 days, but still it's not very effective on the public money point of view, and it's got to be used to feed communication as well. And to conclude, the main learnings, what we could do better if we had to start it over. Maybe we could target the clients better. Maybe a preliminary phone call could check motivation, data, or agenda availability. What we could do better is the selection of and the training of the consultant as well. Material efficiency must be emphasized in the training period. And maybe we could limit the number of experts that are practicing, because as I said, we've been training 200 people and we only have 400 companies, so that's an average of 2 coaching for each expert, which is not enough to learn and to get really efficient. What we could do better is regional marketing. So I said there is a competition for consulting and public support, and the coaching has to find its place on this market. We could improve the distribution network with partners. We could improve communication. We've spent a lot of money with ads on the web, on the press, maybe social media like LinkedIn could be better, could be more efficient. We could improve the process for the client without the step of the contract, something smoother, more continuous. We could improve the selling process, maybe to avoid the non-value added intermediary, and having the client directly buying the service to the consultant, not to them. Maybe the pricing could be different. I think having a pricing of 50% of the annual projected saving will be more efficient, will avoid the threshold effect with still a maximum fixed price, to be clear. and maybe we should invest on online tools. We've seen EREK tools, which are very convenient for self-assessment tools, but for the toolbox that we've built, so having something online would be better than self-made Excels. That's the practical lesson we've learned for this program that carries on till the end of 2000 of this year, in fact, till October. And that's the end of my presentation. Hope I'm on time.
Thank you, EREK. Yes, you're absolutely on time. We are 5 minutes ahead of time. I really appreciated your presentation, and especially you being so straightforward about your, let's say, obstacles, and demonstrating that when you create a program, you don't nail it from the very beginning. It's a process, and then you improve it and you tailor it in time. I really appreciated that. There are a couple of questions for you. I think you answered to one or two of them. Maybe the sector distribution of clients. There was a question of the sectoral distribution. Can you say, please, a couple of words on that? Sorry if I missed, if you mentioned about that. Okay.
I've got a slide about it. Can you see
it? Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So the sector distribution for the retail and the catering are very small. For the clients above 20, mainly it's industry, transformation industry. And for the clients under 20, we don't have much information. We just know that they are about 42%. That's all we know about them.
That's perfect. And a question from me. You said that you were working with 400 companies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have the ambition to scale it up? I mean, to pass like from 400 to 4,000, for example. And what are the things to do to scale it? I mean, you mentioned a huge list of measures, of course, but if you have to choose 1-2 key things, what would they be?
It would be to have a partner to change the selling process and to have a real sales team on the regional level, and to be much nearer to the SMEs, which we don't have the means to do that ourselves.
And not even through the regional representations of them?
No, because they are just busy with so many things. Then this coaching is just a part of what they have to deal with.
Thank you. Everyone, if you have questions, please keep them for the questions and answer session. Very interesting presentation. We are moving to the next one, Zero Waste Scotland, and Patrick O'Reilly. We know, I mean, I'm sure all of you have heard of Zero Waste Scotland and the great things that they're doing on resource efficiency and circular economy. So Patrick, you can go ahead.
Good morning. Hello, everybody. It's great to participate in this webinar today, and there's been some great presentations so far. Can I just get a confirmation you can see my presentation?
Yes, your sound is a bit low. I don't know if you can do something about it. It's audible, but a bit low.
How's that? Is that a bit better?
Much better. Thank you.
So, yes, I'm Patrick O'Reilly. I work for Zero Waste Scotland. I'm a sector manager, and I help deliver the Resource Efficient Scotland program. And today I'd like to just outline some of the approaches that we've taken at Zero Waste Scotland to deliver the program, the strategic approach to resource efficiency, our operational approach, the funding provided, and key learnings with some case studies also towards the end of the presentation.
Patrick, sorry for interrupting you. There is a problem with your voice. We should probably turn it up a little bit.
Oh, okay. How's that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's probably a small difference. Yeah, I got some input from the participants. Anyway,
I'll speak really loud.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so hopefully I'm not too loud, but so the Scottish Government designated energy efficiency as a national infrastructure priority. So the cornerstone of this was Scotland's Energy Efficiency Programme, which is a 15 to 20-year programme. And Energy Efficient Scotland covers both energy efficiency and low carbon heat. So the Scottish Government held public consultation back in 2017. It ran from January to May on an options for programmes and policy design. The key to the Energy Efficient Scotland programme was creating a robust, transparent and meaningful monitoring and review process. Consultation responses show that support for Energy Efficient Scotland is widespread. The respondents called for clear long-term aims underpinned by a stable and consistent policy framework, including regulation to provide certainty and attract investment, a statutory foundation for the programme, including targets and governance. So, moving on to our approach of delivering the Resource Efficient Scotland programme, we use a full service approach, and that's delivered through the programme and funded by Scottish Government and the ERDF Fund. Comprehensive free specialist and on-site support is included in this, and you can see some of the funding that's provided on this particular slide. So up to £100,000 for the Resource Efficient Scotland SME loan, and up to £100,000 for the Waste Prevention Implementation Fund. So the RES loan, or the SME RES loan, is a Scottish Government loan to support installation of a range of technologies demonstrating carbon and cost savings. Loans are interest-free and repayments are made over 8 years. And for loans concerning renewable technologies, and if an organisation is intending to receive the feed-in tariff or renewable heat incentives, the interest rate on that particular loan is 5%, and repayments are also made over 8 years. And over the last 3 years, we've helped SMEs access £8 million worth of funding to purchase new energy efficiency equipment. So Zero Waste Scotland has also got Circular Economy Investment Fund, and the key areas for that fund are bioeconomy, the built environment, so construction, demolition, energy infrastructure, renewables and transmission, and reuse and repair, remanufacture. The contribution to circular economy in Scotland would be remanufacturing, reuse, repair, reprocessing, recycling and innovation in the collection of products and materials. The project development stage and an innovation, product modelling, service technology to commercialisation, so innovative solutions and significant potential for carbon savings through that work. So we're just going to take a look at the barriers to resource efficiency. What prevents SMEs engaging sometimes, and what's the difficulties they have. So the key to success is helping people overcome the barriers to this resource efficiency. But while many businesses want to take action, a significant number of barriers are there to be overcome. Beginning with the lack of time. So often a small, medium-sized enterprise doesn't have a dedicated advisor to assist them. So our program provides that. So this is provided through an implementation advisor, and it can make a real difference in helping in the initial stages of the journey right the way through. So technical skills as well, we found. So there could be a particular lack of technical skills within the organization. So people would want a second opinion, or what you want to do, but you want someone qualified to help you and quantify the likely financial benefits of some of the implementation measures that you're looking at. So we utilize a framework of consultants around Scotland, which we're able to they're able to employ the best knowledge that they have to assist the organisations that we work with. And of course, in an organisation, it's important to build a strong business case to gain management support. So this is where our team of experienced implementation advisors and our wider framework consultants are able to assist, and we've also got excellent guides on how to create and present business cases if needed, so people can build that support within the organisation to propel the project forwards. And then also obviously the lack of funding that organisations may perceive that there is to implement a project. So we of course provide funding through the SME loan, and you can basically have the best project in the world, but if you need to build a strong business case to secure that, you also need you need the funding to overcome these barriers. So we help all the way through the process. The organisation, the small to medium-sized enterprises, help to secure this funding to then go ahead and implement the recommended savings. So some of the business results that we've had, so 730 businesses have been advised. That's a £6 million saving identified. And sorry, just the last over £10,000 per business on average. So here's a result of some of the key areas that we've found were recommended most in the businesses that we've interacted with. So lighting, obviously, a huge portion, followed by structural insulation. Sorry, apologies. So the results from 2013 to 17, over 3,000 organisations were provided one-to-one in-depth support. Over 3,200 individuals were trained at workshops, and over 1,000 qualified as Green Champions. So Green Champions is a training program that we provide in the Resource Efficient Scotland program to embed resource efficiency into organisations. We've managed to implement lifetime savings of greater than £220 million, with over 1 million tonnes of CO2 saved. Some of the case studies which I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, so these are organisations that we've worked with across Scotland. So we worked with a little bakery, it's a family-run business, and the result of that was a reduction of their food waste and resultant food waste charge, and significantly improving the profitability of the company. Also Houston Bottling in Copac, it's a warehouse based in Renfrew and Dunbarton. So they export approximately 1 million cases of whiskey worldwide each year, and we worked with them to implement LED lighting, which significantly reduced their energy costs with a short payback period on investment. Another example of an organisation is the Highland Brewing Company. They're located in Orkney, and they applied to the fund to implement a cask racker to reduce the wasted product associated with the fillings of casks. So this would have been the Waste Prevention Implementation Fund, and the result of that was effective elimination of beer losses. So just a brief kind of example of some of the organisations and the kind of benefits that they've obtained through interacting with us. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. We have some time. Again, the same invitation extended to everyone listening. If you have questions, please ask them in the chat box. While waiting, I'll ask one question, and it is. I would like to ask you if you have used further incentives to encourage loan application by SMEs.
Yes, thanks, Ruslan. We found that when we implemented a 15% cashback incentive on the SME loan, that there was a large uptake of applications for the small to medium-sized enterprise loan. So I'm not sure if other businesses or other groups that are working with small to medium-sized enterprises have done similar, but I'd be keen to hear from the other participants. But we've found that this has really been good for a loan uptake, and we're continuing to do it into this financial year also. So it's proving very valuable.
Yeah. And one question from a participant, and I'll combine it with one other question. First, do you only work with Scottish organizations? I guess the question is yes, but please answer it. And what's the best way for everyone else outside of Scotland to learn more about your programs?
Yeah, so I guess we work mainly in the Scottish region, but we have sat on panels in Ireland, for example, and we do consult with different countries within the EU as well. So, but directly the loan is administered in Scotland, but obviously we're open to collaborating with organisations across Europe where possible. And I guess if people want to find out more information, please come have a look at the Zero Waste Scotland website and also the resourceefficientscotland.com website, where we've got tools and guides and a lot of case studies on the organisations that we've worked with and the implemented savings that they have. So, yeah, I hope this is of help.
Okay, and one last question from me. You mentioned several types of interventions: lightning, water, waste, etc. Are you helping in the framework of the circular economy? Are you helping the SMEs also kind of adopt like more systemic changes in terms of like engaging in industrial symbiosis or something more complicated than that?
So that work is happening within Zero Waste Scotland. We do work across sectors, and we participate in a lot of events, have regular discussions with organisations of all types, really, to find out how they can kind of collaborate and work to have more of an approach that would benefit in terms of the circular economy as well. So it's not necessarily an isolated approach just based on resource efficiency. We're also looking at circular economy, and if people are able to access funding, the circular economy funding, then we would progress with that as well.
Okay, thank you. And while you're speaking, one more question, and we still have some time, so I'll ask it to you. It's from the Czech Republic. Lucy, sorry about not mentioning your family name. Do you see any other big motivators for SMEs to start dealing with resource efficiency than cost savings and better image towards stakeholders? Shall I repeat it, Patrick, or you heard me?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind repeating, please.
Yeah, so what are the, we have several motivations for the companies. First is cost savings, another is better image for the companies. So these are major motivators. What are the others, and what other motivating factors do you see for the companies? From your experience, of course.
So it's quite a broad range, I think, depending on where they're positioned. So some of the organizations may be in rural areas, so they want to build resilience. Some are coming at it because of their particular own personal drivers to wanting to make a difference in their business, so there's quite a different range, really. But from my experience, it's organizations that really kind of care about what they're doing, want to obviously tackle the cost aspect to it, but kind of thinking and maybe hearing about some of these innovative technologies that are existing, and also wanting to reduce their waste across their organization. So it's probably an answer that could go on for a while, or a discussion that could go on for a while.
Yes, so there is one more question, and let it be the last question before moving on. I think it resembles the question I asked, but did any of these changes drive to business model changes in terms of remanufacturing, for example? Very good question.
Yeah, so with some of the implemented changes that have happened, I'm relatively new to the organization, so I'm not completely au fait with each individual project. But I would imagine there probably was some aspect of remanufacturing, which the circular economy team at Zero Waste Scotland would have more information on that. But yeah, it's a very good question.
Thank you, Patrick. Let's move from the northwest to the northeast. Our next speaker comes from Estonia, the Ministry of Environment. I would like to give the floor to Jana Merisaar from Estonia. Jana.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me well.
You're a little bit far. Probably you can go closer to the microphone.
Yes, it is better now.
If you increase your sound just a little bit. Yeah.
Is it better now?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So my name is Jana Merisaar, and I am from the Ministry of Environment of Estonia. And I am very happy to share our practical solution to raise the resource efficiencies in the mining and manufacturing industry. So just to give you a better context of the importance of the measure, I will give you a short overview of Estonia, which is, as said, in the far northeast side of Europe. And we are a very small country with only the population of 1.3 million people. And the resources that we have at hand ourselves are mostly oil shale, peat, sand, limestone, gravel, dolomite, and clay, and also a lot of timber. And you can see that our overall development plans are all regarding these resources, as well as our resource efficiency measure. And all of our development plans in the area are in the context of the construction minerals, forestry, and the use of oil shale. But we are also planning our strategic document and action plan for circular economy. And we have a plan to adopt it in 2020. And the aim of the document is to support a strategic approach on moving towards a circular economy. So in 2019, we are conducting two analyses. We are mapping our current situation and priority areas in Estonia, and also we are setting up the indicators for circular economy. And in addition, a working group is established that consists of public and private sector representatives. But the resource efficiency itself, it's part of the National Reform Program, Estonia 2020. And it is Estonia's strategy for achieving the EU's Europe 2020 objectives of the European Union. And the two central objectives of the program are increasing productivity and employment in Estonia. But for us, it's also very important to increase the resource productivity rate by 10% by the end of 2023. And that is because Estonia stands in the bottom three of European Union companies at the moment in the context of resource productivity. But also it has a lot to do with the resources we have at hand. But the key objective for all these plans is the effective and efficient use of specific resources and ensuring sectoral sustainable development. But enough of the background, let's get to the point. So, I will talk now about our resource efficiency measure. And we are implementing this measure in the current multi-annual financial framework period. So we are implementing this measure until the end of 2020. And it's a complex measure, and we are approaching systematically towards the resource efficiency. And our goal is to help the companies implement eco-innovative solutions that increase effective usage of all resources at hand. By the resources we mean...
Diana, I would like to interrupt you and to turn to everyone. There are lots of background noises. Someone is not muted. If you can please mute yourself.
Okay, and so the resources we speak about are the raw material, energy, water, and waste and production residues. And we have from the European Regional Development Fund 100 million euros to support the companies. But as already said, our measure is a complex measure. So it's not only about supporting the companies, we also find it very important to raise the overall knowledge and to train experts in the field of resource efficiency. So we are constantly organizing different seminars, conferences for companies and other interested people. And we also give the opportunity for companies to have personal consultations on site. So this consultation means that a trained specialist goes to the company and they can speak from one-to-one about specific needs of this company and how they could implement the resource efficiency measure. And I said the important part also is training of resource efficiency specialists. And these specialists also have a big role in the measure as well due to resource audits. So in our investment platform, it's mandatory for all companies to conduct comprehensive resource use analysis. And they have to do this with the help of these trained specialists. They can't do it themselves. And this analyst has to be done before they can apply for the resource efficiency grant. So we are planning to support 300 audits and then 200 companies with their projects. So as said, the first step of the funding is conducting a resource usage analysis. So first, the company has to find the expert who makes the analysis in their company. And this analyst, it calculates the difference between the current situation in the company and then the situation that will be after the new technology or machinery is implemented in the company. So this audit gives proof to the company that the investments that they are planning will be worthwhile, and it also gives the same knowledge to the state as well. So the company makes the audit first, and then from the projects that are recommended in the audit, they can choose which ones they will want to install in their production, and then apply for the funding for these projects. And the funding itself, it's up to 50% of the cost. It's the same for the audit and for the project as well. And I can say that resource audits, they cost approximately about 12,000 euros. And also what the companies need to keep in mind is that the audit can take time, up to 6 months. So it depends of how much data is already available and how big to apply for the funding. It's up to 2 million euros per company that they can ask as a grant. And as said, the important part is training the energy and resource efficiency specialists, and we have already conducted 2 trainings, and we have trained 49 specialists, and all the contact details of these auditors are available on the website of the ministry to help the companies find these specialists more easily. And the projects that can be supported in this measure are mainly comprehensive resource saving projects. So they can implement different technologies, purchase different machineries, but altogether these changes bring resource productivity rise at least 1% if it's a small project and 5% if it's a big project. And support production automatization, new technologies, also environmental management systems and eco-design, and of course finding ways to use production residues and waste as new resource. And the applying itself, it's quite easy. You just have to go to the structural funds website and log in using your ID card, and then start filling out the forms. Of course, it's not actually that easy because the companies have to fill out many requirements, and that's why many companies also use help of consultants to do this. And all of the projects are then evaluated, and the grants are given out by Environmental Investment Center in Estonia. And just to give you a little overview of where we stand at the moment. So as said, we hope to support 200 projects, and we have 100 million euros to do so. So at the moment, we have supported 37 projects, and 27 million euros of grants have not been given out, but the decisions have been made to give them out. But the projects itself are in total of 83 million euros. So in the context of Estonia being so small, it's still quite a lot of euros invested in resource efficiency so far. And the first call of investments was made in January 2017, and at the moment the second call is ongoing. And because we started out with supporting the most resource usage intensive industry sectors, such as mining, wood, food, paper and cellulose and mineral sectors, we can also see from the current situation that these are the sectors that have been most active. And when speaking about the wood industry, actually over 60% of grants have been given there. But it's also due to the fact that timber is one of the resources that is mostly used in Estonia, and also because wood is one of the easiest raw material to use more efficiently by implementing modern IT solutions and new machinery. Like, for example, implementing scanners to detect the quality of wood and to make cuts more efficiently. And speaking about examples, I just have a few examples of projects that have been funded and finished in our measure. The first one is a mining company, Tootsi Turvas. So they are the largest peat miner in Estonia. And they are a great example of a company who found a way to make new resource out of something that used to be a production residue. So they purchased a new mobile shredder that makes wood chips from wood stumps. A second example is again from the mining industry. Company Kivilux, who is mining, processing, and crushing minerals. And they purchased the innovative production unit with a new washing system for limestone, which gives them better filtration of gravel and sand. And also because the new line is mobile, they will mostly have savings in fuel costs, and in 15 years they will save over 1 million liters of fuel. And an example from building materials, it's Glasimeister, who is mainly active in glass processing. For example, they are producing glass surfaces for big buildings, like there is an example on the picture, and they purchased a new modern glass tempering furnace. And it gives them the opportunity to produce more specific products, and that gives them higher competitiveness, which is always very important for companies. And last but not least, an example from the wood industry. It's Palmako, who is a leading manufacturer and exporter of square log garden houses and laminated timber in Estonia. And they implemented a new technology for production of laminated timber with the smart software optimization. Gives them less residue and in the end 7.5 better resource usage. Okay, so I hope these practical examples give you a good idea of what we are supporting with our measure in concern of investments. But as a summary, the key to success when we are taking the context of our measure is it's a comprehensive approach, that it's a complex measure. So on the one hand, we are raising the awareness constantly, we are training the experts, so it gives availability of qualified resource or efficiency auditors to the companies, and also they have the financial support. But it's also important for the companies to have a clear investment plan and well-planned time management to make sure that everything goes smoothly. And also analysis on the local needs is crucial in order to gain most out of this type of measure. And the analysis of the sectors were also done before implementing this measure in Estonia. And some of the difficulties that we have seen in the eyes of the companies, sometimes they struggle through all of the state aid rules and procurement rules, because I think we all need to find ways how to make bureaucracy less. And when we speak to the companies, it's always important to emphasize on the economic possibilities, because as we see, the environmental concerns are mostly related to waste management, but that's where it stops. So when raising the awareness, we always try to bring out best practices and good practical solutions that would really meet the expectations of the companies, and that would be easy for them to implement as well. And of course, it's important to find ways to use increase the use of secondary raw materials and to close the loop. And this we hope to achieve with our ongoing circular economy strategy plan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jana. Excellent presentation. Yeah, the sound is better now. There was kind of deterioration of the sound. So you've been very efficient. first I would like to give the floor to the people to ask you some questions, some clarifying questions, similar to everyone else, and then it's the time for open discussions for asking questions all of the speakers. You can write your questions in the right-hand side. I encourage you to do so. I have a number of questions in stock, but please go ahead, and we'll cover as many questions as possible. Immediately, one question from Amar Isla. Could you provide any economic study on cost-benefit analysis or paybacks? Meaning, Amar, studying the projects or in general? Anyway, Jana, if you could try and answer this question.
Sorry, could you be more specific? Do you mean regarding the projects that we have already supported?
Yeah, Mari, if you can make this clarification, please, because yeah, let's assume yes, related to the projects.
Well, at the moment it's quite early to make any conclusions, because well, first of all, we have only few projects that have actually been finalized, and the implementation of the new machinery also will take some years. So we can see the real results maybe in 5 years or so, and then it's time to make these conclusions.
Thank you. There are no questions for the time being. I have a question for you, and this is about the different types of measures and funding for the different companies. They are not of the same type, right? How does it work? Because you said some get as much as 2 million euros, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
If you can clarify a little bit.
Yes, well, actually, our measure consists of 2 parts. We have support for small projects and big projects. Small projects are funded up to 200,000 euros, and the big ones up to 2 million euros. And why we have it in 2 parts, it's just to make it easier for the smaller companies and smaller projects to realize the project. So there are easier requirements, and it takes less time to process the applications.
Thank you. And one more question for you before opening up the floor for general questions. Tell us, please, about the pool of experts that you're using. You said that the companies can hire their own experts. Who are they? I mean, how can they choose?
Yes, we have trained almost 50 experts, and all of the contact details are available at our website. But of course, companies need to keep in mind that not everyone is actually active in the measure. So we have also brought out the experts that are mostly active, and we have drawn out like a table of sectors where in what sector who has done what. So this should simplify the process of finding these experts. And it's important that the company has this overview, because if the company wants to get the funding for the audit, they need to ask proposals from at least 3 different companies to make the audit.
Thank you. So please go ahead and ask questions to everyone now. While waiting for your questions, I'll ask the ones that have already been sent. And there was one question on, have you thought of, it's for everyone, huh? Anyone can answer from the speakers. Have you thought of signing with the client a pre-commitment document before they are granted free coaching? So probably it's more to EREK. I don't know if I remember correctly. on the pre-commitment before free coaching, or it's on the basis of trust? Eric, I think, or anybody who wants to answer has to unmute himself or herself.
So what is this pre-commitment thing?
I don't know. That's the question. I guess some kind of memorandum of understanding with the company that they are committed to doing the measures.
What we've set is a very simple contract between the client and ADEME, and there are some commitments for the client and for ADEME as well. But what we experience is that it's not very useful for them to be obliged to implement the action plan. In the end, the decision is in the power of the client, and if they don't want to do some actions, they will always have good reasons not to do so. So the contract is just a bit symbolic.
So of course you are focusing on the voluntary character of the action and
Yes.
not on some kind of legal obligations. There is one other question, and I think it's to everyone. What were, in your view, the best ways to reach the SMEs? And there are some examples given: internet communication, trade association, local actors. Of course, all of you have covered this issue partly, but if you can probably elaborate a little bit. Anyone from the speakers on the best possible communication channels?
Just to a starting point, what we are trying to do more and more this year is to have the previous clients becoming ambassadors and example, and to testify the results they've had themselves. And it's more convincing when it's said from a company to another company. That's what we are trying to develop this year for the communication.
Anyone else from the speakers on communication? Thanks, Eric.
Well, if I can provide an experience from the Czech Republic, we are a consultancy company, so we usually work with those SMEs or large enterprises who need some environmental services to fulfill their legislative obligations. For instance, we have obligatory energy audits or some waste prevention programs. So if you already work with this client on something which is obligatory for him, you can offer, of course, some add-on services, so resource efficiency measures, some additional ones to be implemented.
Thank you, Peter. Pavel, sorry. Thank you, Pavel. Very good point.
From perspective, Ruslan and the other participants, so we would actually work across different stakeholders, some of which are membership organizations. So one example, we worked with a membership organization in Scotland who send out regular newsletters and social media to their businesses. So they've got a registered list of up to 18,000 businesses in Scotland. So our reach can go so far, but we found by connecting with those organizations and providing them with good content, ongoing content that they can then use on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, and in their newsletters, that is quite engaging, and it's sometimes trusted, not that we're not trusted, but a more trusted voice that they are used to in their particular area. So it's not just purely a resource efficiency message that they're receiving that plus all of the other messages that are relevant to their business, which can be quite powerful. So working with kind of important membership organizations and local agencies and different businesses and trade events and workshops, we found to be quite powerful. So hopefully that is useful.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, we have another very good question from Pavel Kazmirczyk from the European Environmental Agency in Copenhagen to all presenters. What were the big surprises which you encountered during the implementation of your initiatives to support resource efficiency in local companies? So something, I guess, Pavel, which you did not expect before starting. So anybody can answer from the speakers. Just unmute yourselves. You asked a difficult question.
Well, maybe if I can take the floor. What was when we implemented some resource efficiency cleaner production projects? So what was really surprising that even in companies which were really well managed, so they have implemented all the ISO standards, etc. So even in such companies, when you go into detail and you map energy and material flows, you can really find very interesting potential for improvement.
Excellent point. And Pavel just complemented his question, meaning systemic things, not just related to a single company. Okay, so anybody else from the speakers wanting to?
I could have a surprise, but it's not a good one. We had with fast food catering. We've realized that they have really a little margin of action by themselves, and they can't decide many things. So it's very hard to have them change things which they have not in their hands. But meaning the process, or the procurement, so the way they do the process, they can't decide about it.
Why is it so, Eric? Can you clarify?
Because they are a member of a big organization. Let's say not a very large one on a national scale, and everything is decided precisely, on every detail on a national scale. And if you deal with the shop on the very little ones and the fast food restaurants, they can't decide. So the margin of progress is very little. So that means that work needs to be done with the headquarters and
yes,
whatever
the mother company.
Yeah. If we could.
Yeah, sure. Okay, if nobody wants to provide more answers to this question, there is another question which came in from Mar Isla. Do you have experience of working with universities as expert providers? Okay, Eric's answer is
no, not
clear
at all.
From yeah.
I guess just maybe some clarification in terms of, Mar, what you mean by expert providers. Is that feeding information back to our organization, or?
I assume, before she read it, it is the type of experts that go to the companies, similar to you are doing it, and I think in Estonia they had these 50 experts or 49 experts. Yeah, she confirmed that this is what she meant.
I guess so. With the Resource Efficient Scotland program, we do work with universities, but more so either in implementation projects or research projects, and we have regional and framework consultants based in the cities that would actually go in as the expert providers and implement the changes once the funding is provided to each organization or business.
Thank you. Anybody else on the university as expert providers?
Well, I already mentioned in the presentation as well, the experts that we are training, they are trained in a university. So we could say that we are in cooperation with the university, but also some of the experts that are going to the companies and doing the audits are working within some universities.
Okay, thank you. At the moment, there are no other questions. I had a question on the funding. I mean, you all provided different figures. Obviously, in the end, Estonia was the most striking with 100 million for a 1.5 million, sorry, or 3 million population. So that's pretty massive in terms of scale. But my question would be, how much is needed? I mean, do you feel that you need to put really a huge amount of money to provide change, or it's about spending the money smartly? Or could you please elaborate on this? Is it about volume of money, or it's also the way you spend them?
Can I go first?
Yeah, of course.
Well, as we can see in our measure itself, yes, we have 100 million euros, but it seems that the companies don't want it because we have only given out close to 30 million euros. So I think it's mostly important to raise the awareness and show the good practices and what the companies could really do and how they could do it. And then if they can do it, then maybe help them a little bit with the support.
Yeah, I would say that what we've seen from Zero Waste Scotland, the continuous process, starting with the audit and going up to the large investment, is the main way to go. And the amount of money is not the real thing that matters. Is having this continuous process to have many more companies going up to the real important investments and changes.
Yes, very good point. Patrick, you would like to add something on that issue?
Yeah, so with the organizations we've engaged in, some of just the smaller funded projects are kind of how you have this cumulative effect. And also those organizations will then come back again and apply for the loan repeatedly. So it's not necessarily they look for the maximum amount of £100,000 for their initial project, but they may come in and have a very small amount, and then that makes the process easier for future applications and future projects. So it's, yeah, as you said, it's more about you getting the companies on board and then taking them on that journey towards more and more of the projects.
We have two more questions to specific speakers. First is to Jana. Are the audit for companies in Estonia for free? I think you said yes, but you can go ahead. And the second is to EREK. Do you also work with the Pôle de Compétitivité? So two very specific questions. Jana, first.
Thank you. The audit itself, it's not for free. The audit is 4 to 6 months lasting activity in the company, and that costs about 12,000 euros, depending on the size of the company and the projects. And then 50% can be funded from the measure. But what is for free is a consultation in the company before the company enters the measure, just to know that there is something they can actually do within the measure. And that is for free.
So that's an excellent approach. You kind of provide a hook first, and then they have to buy in with some of their own money, which makes them more responsible. So that's excellent. Eric, a concrete question for you. Probably you can say a couple of words. What is Pôle de Compétitivité to those who are not?
It could be translated into cluster, as I've understood. Yes, we work with them concerning what I've been talking about. SMEs winning on all counts. We have got contact with them to send the information, not to do the coaching itself. But we have many other programs and action with them on innovation, depending on the regional priority.
Thank you. There are no questions at the moment. Anybody else would like to ask something? One more thing, I'm thinking it was mentioned, I think, by EREK, if I'm not mistaken. It's about competing measures, because in the countries there are other providers of these services. What can you say about that? I mean, are we competing in providing these services to SMEs actually? Anybody from the speakers?
Yes, in a certain way. Where what we've seen with this specific coaching is that in some regions there is really a competition between other type of audits. This coaching is about very large scope with energy and material, and in some region you've got a fast track visit about energy, which is competing with it. So, and there is in France audit that is called Industry of the Future, something like that, that is competing as well, because there is a part of it which is about environment. So I think we've got to improve that and to work on that.
You mean better coordination between between the offers to the SMEs?
Yes, and on a regional scale, not a national one.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add something on the competing offer?
We are competing a little bit in the support measures as well, because in Estonia we have different measures for companies, and one that is has a similar goal as ours is digitalization support measure that is done by a different ministry, and they also support audits, but it's just going in the view of digitalization, and afterwards they support automatization and digitalization projects. So I think it would be much more efficient if in the future we could somehow combine these measures. And I think this can be a problem in other areas as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jana. So once more, the issue of coordination between different service providers. Patrick, if I'm not mistaken, you wanted to say something.
Yes, thanks, Ruslan. So in terms of competitiveness, I'm sure there possibly is other organizations, but I like to look at us all sharing the pie as opposed to looking for a piece of the pie. So we tend to refer to partner organizations. So if it's something that we can't directly assist with, we'll try our best to assist the customer. So we really build it around the customer and providing the best service and support to them, because ultimately we're all working together for the same outcomes, really.
Yeah.
Thank you. Of the key policy agenda priorities of the current Commission, it seems that the majority of initiatives presented today support resource efficiency in enterprises. Is there a link to the circular economy agenda? Do companies ask for circular economy, or is this terminology debate irrelevant at the company level? This is a question from Pavel, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't matter. It's a good question. So please, if you have an answer to that. Yes, it's from Pavel.
Depending who you are talking to, for most of SMEs, circular economy just means recycling waste. It's such a large concept it's very hard to explain. And when we start with the first contact, I don't think it's the more efficient concept to start a relation with a SME. You'd better start with cost reduction or just solution to their priority problem, which can be energy or waste or something very concrete. But circular economy is for the more advanced one.
So from simple to more complicated. Anybody else on the relation between resource efficiency and circular economy? Is it a real debate, a false debate?
Maybe I can confirm what Eric just said, because when you talk to companies, especially to SMEs, so they consider circular economy as a waste management issue. So they say, okay, yes, we recycle or we reuse our material, we have some waste prevention programs, but I don't think they think about some more advanced ways of implementation of circular economy. So it's more I would say political debate and initiatives from public administration, but we miss bottom-up initiatives.
Thank you. Jana, do you have something to say about that? Is this relevant for the Estonian context?
Well, circular economy itself, it's quite a new term for the companies, I would say. Resource efficiency is, they know this better and understand it better. But as I said, we are on the process of working out our circular economy strategy and action plan. And I think that in the process of this, we will raise the awareness in circular economy as well. So we will not focus only on resource efficiency, but also to circular economy. And we have already started with this last year autumn. So we are raising the awareness, and I think then the companies know more to ask about this as well.
Thank you, Jana. There is a point from Lucy Bihachkova that in the Czech Republic, I'm not sure, Lucy, if you're from the Czech Republic or Slovakia, we're trying to make an overview regarding the current topics as resource efficiency, circular economy, energy efficiency, cleaner production, eco-design, and other green topics. So trying to sort everything out so that to avoid overlapping, I guess, and simplify things. And there is a point from Eva from the Commission that in her experience, the first step is resource efficiency, while circular economy is systemic change. Exactly what Eric said, that from the simpler measures to the more complicated systemic measures. Anybody wants to ask another question? I don't have other questions in stock. We are approaching the end, so if there are no more questions, this would be quite fine actually. Giving you 10 more seconds and then we'll move towards wrapping up. Yes, some practical issues. The presentations will be available, of course. There is a question about that. And you will receive a survey, a satisfaction survey after the webinar. Please answer it so that we know what to improve. They will be uploaded, and there will be also a recording of the webinar. So if you think it was useful and if you want to recommend it to somebody, they can listen to it in full. And before, from my side, that's everything. I think it was absolutely great. We received lots of very precious and very comprehensive examples. And most importantly, it was not like promotion of your country examples, but it was like a real sharing of the difficulties and what's good, what's wrong, what could be improved, etc. So That's very precious in my opinion. Thanks to the participants for asking questions. That's excellent. Please respond to the survey. And before wrapping up, I would like to give the floor back to Eva for a final word. Eva, if you can unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Ruslan. Thanks a lot to everybody for participating in this webinar, the first one of EREK. I hope it was useful for all of you. It was extremely useful for me. I would like to thank in particular Pavel, Eric, Patrick, and Jana for these very good presentations and their honest opinions of how things can be done or not regarding companies. And I would like to invite everybody to come to Brussels on the 25th, 26th of September. It will be a very good opportunity to meet in person at the International Conference of EREK. So please, looking forward to seeing you. If you cannot, you know that in Poland we will have another opportunity in a few days, and in Bucharest in May. Thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you, Eva. And with this, I would like to close the webinar. Have a nice day.